3PNR with Adam R. Welcome to 3PNR. I'm your host, Adam R. And joining me for this episode is Richard Johnson, Paranormal Investigator. Richard, how you doing, sir?
All right. How's it going?
Good. Glad to have your time. On this episode, let's start with talking about your background. What put you on the path to paranormal research?
Pretty much started when I was young. When I was a kid, we lived in a house that had activity, and I don't know, I've always been interested in hauntings and spirits, and what happens when we die. Do we just heaven, hell, do you go out for a while, all that kind of stuff. And it just always interests me to try to find those answers.
So you became an investigator young then, like really young?
Well, actually doing investigations, I started about 25 years ago.
Okay. And in some of the cases you studied, what are some of the more intriguing cases you've come across?
I've been on a couple of demonic cases that, a lot of bad things were going on in their house. And, I've been on, I think my favorite place is historical places, Civil War forts, places like that. We have a fort here. It's called Fort Morgan. It's really active, and I used to spend a lot of time there. So I've seen full body apparitions there. You hear voices, hear footsteps, things of that nature. So I think I've about seen it all over the years,
Yeah, that place you're talking about, it's very active, you said, yeah?
Yes.
It's going to be my goal. Eventually I'm going to go out and do a documentary. I want to find a good list of places where there's like a lot of activity, so I'm there and I can document well. What in that particular location, you're seeing full body apparitions, and so for you as investigating, what instruments are you using and what have you picked up?
I use everything from spirit box, K2 meters, REM pod. I build some of my own equipment. I build REM pods and proximity sensors and things like that. A lot of EVPs. We get a lot of voices on recording. I've seen 4 full body apparitions there over the years, and then once I saw just a set of legs. It was just legs walking by. And I'd captured a photo of one while I was there. It's kind of misty. It was going away by the time I was able to get a camera on it. And they actually used it on Expedition X last season. They used my picture when they were doing their show there. So
right,
that was pretty exciting.
All right, so for that photo, I don't. If you want, I can link that photo in the podcast.
Okay,
up to you. So in the field, all right. So do you have a team you work with?
Yes, we have our team. It's called Ethereal Voices Paranormal, and we're based out of Pensacola, Florida.
Right. Yeah, I live in Florida, so Florida's an active place for what seems like everything, right? Ufology, and everything happens here. It's crazy.
Yeah, everywhere. In Pensacola, because they say it was like one of the first settlements. So there's a lot of history here. We have a lot of, in downtown Pensacola, we have a lot of old antebellum houses and really old houses, old buildings, places like that we've been to. We've done a lot of the private homes around Pensacola.
Right.
So we basically go everywhere, anywhere anybody needs us.
So far, 25 years of investigating. What's your conclusion? What are these apparitions? What are ghosts?
Well, it kind of goes both ways, I think. They're, like people talk about intelligent hauntings, and then you have residual. I think when you see like an apparition and it's just going, it just, you just see it walking by. I think most of the time when you see that, it's kind of a residual thing. It's just like a movie that plays over and over and over again. But when you are able to, that's my goal, is to be able to face. I want to talk to a spirit, like, looking at it. So I know it knows I'm there and I know it's there. But I think most of the ones you just see like walk by or go by a doorway or the shadow that goes across the hall, most of those I think are residual. And then you get the ones that answer your questions, like, through EVPs, when you're recording. And, some of the, it has to be an intelligent being to answer a question if you ask a question and give you, a response to your question. So I think they're, kind of both ways.
Yeah, like an intelligent energy form. Yeah. I was recently discussing that with someone about the residual. We call it the time loop. It's where an energy is rehearsing something over and over again. More specifically, in and around a date of time that affected that particular energy. Yeah. So for me, I'm with you. I would love to find an intelligent energy, paranormal, and just sit down and talk with it. I mean, that would put my mind at great ease, because at the end of the day, and I said this on the podcast many times with other people, we're just questioning our mortality along with our curiosity. That's really what the combination is. In the field for you so far, have you had any kind of events that were negative, something you wouldn't go, a place you would never return to if you had to?
Well, there was a house that we did a private investigation for, and it was years ago. And when we went in the house, I felt off when we got there, and I had been investigating very long then. And I walked in the house, and the people had moved because they just didn't know what else to do, so they left. And we were investigating the house, and I walked in and I put a digital recorder on the table, and I was just, doing my normal thing. I said, I'm going to start an EVP session. And then all of a sudden I felt a slap right across my face. Well, at the time, after we had finished investigating, there was all kinds of weird stuff happening. When we got finished, we were listening back to the recorder, and you can actually hear the smack. And right after it smacked, it said, "You might die here."
Wow.
Yeah, so that kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, that would bug me too. It's like basically telling you if you don't leave, you're dead.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's tough. On your team, so I asked this of a lot of researchers. Do you on your team, do you have a psychic?
Yes, we do. Okay. We have a girl that's psychic medium.
And so on the team as well, so tell me what your team consists of, so this way I get an idea of your team.
We have 4 people because we want to keep it small,
Right.
Just because, if you go to somebody's house and investigate, you don't want 20 people running around. It's myself, my wife, Colleen Johnson, and then another couple, Reebok and Sarah Wurzbach. We're the 4 members of the team.
So if
all like best friends.
Oh, you have to be. If you're working that closely together on the paranormal, you have to be. Even if you just met over the course of time, you're going to become close, right? Because that's your circle of people, and that's who you're going to bounce your information off of. Are you guys going to are you running a channel right now, like anything on YouTube?
Not yet. We got this group started, and then I had to move I was in Gulf Breeze, so I had to move from Gulf Breeze to Pensacola, and we've only been here a few months. And then now they had to move, so we've been kind of on a lull right now.
Right.
I did have Gulf Breeze Paranormal Society for a long time, but we're going to start. That's what we're working on now, is getting stuff footage up and stuff to start posting to YouTube.
Gulf Breeze, man. A lot of stuff happens in Gulf. Like if you look at the history of Gulf Breeze, just paranormal, but the UFO sightings there. There's a famous one in Gulf Breeze, right?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, well, I think one landed in a road and they got pictures of it. In fact, there's I can't recall the name of the restaurant or something like that, where they have like a little museum dedicated to it, I think.
Yeah, there's also a house on the beach down there that looks like a UFO.
That's right. Yeah, because Gulf Breeze, once upon a time, was a very hot location for UFO sightings that are there off the coast and even within the inland.
Yeah,
because there's a photograph, and I remember watching a documentary about it where they were discussing this photograph. It was a UFO. It was in like just hovering above the road, like maybe 12 feet. And there was these experts trying to recreate it to see if it was a hoax. And there's really, at the end of the day, no conclusion to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw that too.
Very interesting case. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
I think the guy, the first guy that did the article, they did an article in the newspaper, and I've seen some of the articles about that, and I think one of them that was a witness to it, they still live there. They still live in Gulf Breeze.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels between paranormal activity and UFOs, because if we consider what UFOs are doing, they're obviously manipulating the energy around them because they're not using the same physics as us. And we're wondering if they're unknowingly opening small gateways for the paranormal to become more precedent.
Yeah. I know I've heard a lot of, especially recently, a lot of like psychic mediums and things talk about, no, it's not a ghost, it's an alien, things like that. So yeah, it kind of makes you wonder if they kind of, some of it is UFO activity possibly that people are having instead of paranormal, like ghosts and things.
Yeah, for me and everything I'm learning, because again, prior to podcast, I was always interested in these subjects. I never witnessed anything in life. This is why I'm doing a podcast. Why I'm going to eventually do an investigative documentary. I want to find stuff. But the more I research, the common thread, the common beat is vibrations and frequencies. And so, like, an example, when that ghost slapped you, if a ghost wants to touch you, in my opinion, it's not going to feel pleasant, whether it be, even if they want to touch you pleasantly. I don't think it's going to feel pleasant. They have to manipulate energy to do it. They're not in the physical form.
Exactly.
I think if they're and a lot of investigators describe a cold feeling, chill. I kind of feel like that's maybe that some of them have a presence when they're nearby you. Maybe you're feeling that. I'm going to look deeper into that. That catches my imagination and my attention, is the idea of feeling this cold force. I've heard this from not just investigators, I've heard this from religious figures too. And I've heard this from science figures about the energy of the room, either dipping to a negative with a cold energy therefore, or almost like a hair-raising like energy in a room. Have you you've experienced some of these on out in the field, I imagine?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's like people say, oh, I feel, when you feel that energy, like either go through you or get close to you, it either, a lot of times it's like tingly, or, you'll feel like, it feels almost like spider webs.
Right.
I've known that you feel like there's spider webs on you, but there's not. And then other times, like you were talking about the scratching and things like that. I think it's just a lot of people jump to the conclusion, oh, I got scratched, it's something bad. But I think they have to try so hard. There's, so much energy to physically touch you.
Right.
That I think when they, go to touch you and you get scratched, it's really most of the time it's not something bad.
It could be an inexperienced ghost or spirit that doesn't know how to do that yet. Yeah. So it's not going to feel pleasant. I'm certain if there's an experienced entity that wants to give you a negative reaction, I'm pretty certain it's going to be beyond a scratch. I think it's going to feel more like I had one investigator I'd spoken to. He spoke about having immense pressure in his chest and headaches. And I've heard from psychics who have just had to leave that location. I've heard other psychics tell me that they had to take months off, right? There's an investigator I'd spoken to off podcast from San Francisco where he was at a site and he heard that I guess a spirit box or said leave. He didn't leave. And he became violently ill. Like he was violently throwing up. He was having extreme nausea and headaches. That's to me, if it is an entity and it's an all energy form, that's an experienced entity that could push you that far, right? Versus you go to a location with your team and you meet a young girl or boy who passed away recently. They don't really have the knowledge to manipulate the energy to touch you. So perhaps to scratch or to slap, maybe it's just their best effort to try.
Yeah, that's what I think the majority of them are.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's a prankster like me, like someone would slap you for fun, right? I mean, that's different. And even
we've run into those where you'll hear them. I've been in some of these older houses around here, and you'll hear it like knocks. You'll hear something knock, and then you go to where the knocking is, and then on the other side of the house it knocks. And you go over there, and then it's somewhere else. And it's like they just run you around,
Right. Yeah, so another thing I'm going to be doing here in the future is watching a lot of these viral videos where there's ghost interact. Unfortunately, on YouTube, and this is the world we live in, it's hard to discern the difference between what could be real or not because of today's technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, there's a couple of videos where, again, I said it before, there's this couple, they're in a hotel, they're going to investigate it. She's doing the walk through the hotel beforehand. She opens a closet. Her stuff's neatly organized. She pans to the right, and she gets to this point where the camera's facing a dark space. And then she pans over to opens the door, and it's just disarray. All her stuff's been moved instantly. The problem there is, I saw the pause of the edit. I look for those things. So that found that discouraging. Now, there's another one, though, however, where it's a dog in a cage, two dogs. They're barking, outrageously barking. And then they go silent for a small period of time, and then you can see the collar removed from the dog's neck, and the dog panics. Now, that I can't explain. So I imagine it's going to be a field day for me to try to go through some of these videos to figure out, or at least form my own opinion on it. I'm not going to say fake or not fake. I'm not that guy. I'm just going to form opinions of what I see. So what videos for you that are what's caught your attention out there?
I know there's some of the stuff like that, like you're talking about on TV. I've seen some from Gettysburg of, I guess, soldiers is what it looks like to me.
Right.
That I can't explain it.
I think I know you're talking. Is that the one where you see them like they're a group and they're what seems like they're looping, right? They're walking in one direction, they disappear, reappear. Yeah, I see. Yeah, that.
And there's another one where you see them. The guy has just a static camera set up, and you can tell it's like right after, at twilight, like right when the sun's fixing to come up. And it's shooting down this trail, down this road. And after the camera sits there a while, you start seeing these look like, see-through apparitions walking across the road.
I looked at some of those videos too, and the first thing I look for is the background. I look for shadowing. I look for movement. The Gettysburg one's tricky because I don't see anything in there that says film edit, but I'm not an expert on that. I base it on what I could. There's been plenty of videos. One in particular is this video of a school, and some of the desks are moving, and the doors are swinging open and closing.
Yeah, and the lockers are banging in and out.
The first thing that captured my attention is it's CCTV, and there's audio. And I was shocked at that. I'm like, well, usually closed circuit television doesn't have an audio feed. I mean, I could be wrong, but if you slow down on two of the images where the door swings open, I feel like there could be a string there, right? But then I can't explain the chair. The chair moving, it didn't move in one direction. It moved in three different directions simultaneously. So that's hard for me to explain, other than being three strings and it's well orchestrated. But this is at a public school in the middle of the night. I feel like if it was a hoax, and it would require a team of people, and I feel like it would have been exposed already, because it's hard to keep people quiet, right?
Yeah.
So it's
I'm sure it would be exposed. And I think I've seen a few from another one. They had a couple of videos from that school,
right,
of things happening. You know, I mean, there are some of them that you can tell, like,
yeah,
you know, the way the camera is, and, you know, you can't see where whatever this object is that got thrown, you can't see where it came from and things like that. You know, so those are the ones that I kind of scratch my head on, like, I don't know, you know, because I want to be able to see. If I can literally with my eyes see it just go on its own, you know, that's the ones that I kind of think are more real. Agreed. I mean, I've seen, you know, on my own investigating, I've seen furniture move, you know, chairs move and things like that. So, you know, I've seen you know, objects being manipulated by spirits. So, you know, I know it happens, but it's like everybody else. You know, you catch it on film, and then they say, "Oh, you know, it's a string," or it's, you know. So you got the people that believe and the people that don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's healthy to be skeptical. What I don't like is someone to be skeptical from afar, right? It's, for an example, I don't think there's certain things I see on TV, I don't believe for a second they're haunted, these locations. But that's my thoughts. That's my opinion. When I go in the field, I have to responsibly go there to form a better opinion. It's not safe to sit on the couch and be like, oh, well, that's fake because of this, because you don't know. I sent you a video when you get time later. It's one of the few videos on YouTube. It's like an upside down entity in this doorway. And to give you this video is based on, is this guy was working on electrical stuff in a house, and he was calling something into question about what he was doing. So he broke out a camera to record. And so he's walking around. You can see before the longer video anyway. Prior to the incident, he's walking around looking at the electrical box. And this is daylight, broad daylight. This isn't the nighttime. So he apparently goes to look at the video to kind of recap on some of the things that he, like electrical or something he's working on, to recap it. But he happened to notice that there is something strange in the image, and he didn't make heads or tails of it. So he puts the camera back on, goes to the house, and all the cabinets are open, and you could hear in his voice. So one thing I noticed right away, he had a chemical response, a real one. You could see the pitch of his voice change, his breathing changed. He was freaked out. He's like, nope, walked right back out of the house. Daylight. In the video, he works the nerve up to go back in the house. Goes back in the house. He's recording, and you see the cabinets move, another one opens, something else has moved. He's freaked out. He leaves, right? He's panicked. Now he ends the video to call someone. It wasn't until later on in the evening, when they were evaluating the video, that they noticed in the hallway by the bathroom was this, and I'm getting chills about it now. It's the one video on YouTube that bothered me. This upside down apparition with like a white face and black eyes. It was upside down in the hallway. I got the video from that, put it on my computer, and did the best I could to zoom in on it, to find pixelation or anything that shows editing. And the closer I zoomed in on it, the greater the depiction of this entity got. So that bothered me, because that's real. In my opinion, that's a real event. Not good enough for me to say from home. I would like to go see this location, but evidently he's never had another incident at that house again. So that's one of the videos that captured my attention.
Yeah, this I've been watching it.
Yeah, it's troubling.
There are some that I've seen that I couldn't explain. You know, I've had people send me videos from their house, you know, doors opening and closing, you know, simple things like that. Nothing like he's going through, but, you know, like maybe a door opened, or, And that's my thing is like, that's the first thing. Like, if we get called for an investigation and that's their activity, oh, the door opens, or, you know, we try to figure out anything that could have done it besides a ghost.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the rule out phase. You got to do that. Did you see the video?
First.
There's a video of a security guard at a nursing home, I believe it is, or some facility, some sort of medical facility. He's sitting in his chair, and so on CCTV camera, you could see him kind of pan right and look at something, like he was almost checking, did I just see that? And then whatever it was, you could see in the video where there's like this kind of ghostly apparition moving towards a doorway. He threw a book at it. And so when he did that, in my mind, like, that, whatever that is, that really was real, because his default mechanism was throw something at it in panic. Yeah. Right. And this is a pretty big guy. He got out of his chair, backed up, and threw a book, and you could see in his face. And then he describes, even when he's describing the video post, after the fact, you could hear the chemical response in his voice. He's pitched up a little bit. He's unnerved because he could not explain that. That video, I thought was, so that's another one I think to be authentic.
Yeah, there's a few. There's one, like you said, the school. I don't know that the school one's kind of, I don't know. I'm on the fence about that one. I've seen it a bunch of times, and I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to link a lot of these videos in the description. So I know I'm explaining, and people are like, what the hell is he talking about? I'm going to put links to it in the description for YouTube channels. Yeah, the school one's tough. I can see why, because that could be orchestrated by a group. The only thing that runs in my mind post that is that typically people leak. They usually expose it, especially when it's a group.
And really, I mean, and then when you look, like you were talking about the chair, if you look at the chair, it goes in different directions. It'll go one way and then go in a different direction.
Yeah, outside of there being three people with rope, like fishing string from three different directions. Then you have to, I have to account for where are they pulling that from?
Yeah, and the lights are on, and right where it's happening. So if there was a string, if you looked at it really close, you would be able to see it.
Yeah, like a reflection. So that's why the chair, I get called into question. Some of the other stuff, I feel like I could explain. That doesn't mean it's not real. But the chairs were, I'm stumped, because I feel like because of the lighting, because they had the night lighting in there, I feel like I would have saw reflective glare off the if it were string, if it were fishing string, fishing wire, definitely would. You would definitely see like a reflection. Even a black yarn would, even because it's CCTV, it's closed caption TV. I think you would see the shadowing of that. So yeah, I'm pretty stumped on the chair.
Yeah, and there's one that I saw that it was a guy in a hotel room by himself, and the first thing that happened to him was the telephone jumped off it was sitting in the cradle, it was just a regular telephone like it's in a hotel room, and it would just jump off onto the table. And I was looking at all the lights are on. You can't see any strings. And then he's sitting there, and he put it back on, and he was like, "That's weird." And then it did it again, and then some towels that were in the bathroom flew off the counter. And I looked at those really close, and I could never see, like a string or anything like that, because he actually was filming it when it happened. And he sounded scared, and then he left. He checked out of the hotel room, went to it, told him he needed a different room.
There's another video that has I'll have to share it with you if I gotta find it again. It's a kid, Asian kid. He's got a very expensive cell phone, right? He's got, at the time it was an Apple 11, right? So whenever the Apple 11 came out is when he made the video. Mm-hmm. And he's running around, he's video recording himself at night skating, like skateboarding. And you see in the video where he's recording himself, and then he's got another camera on his external, on his body somewhere, which I think is a GoPro. And so he's kind of syncing these two things up, and he hits this little, it's not even a park. I want to say it's like maybe like a business center, like where there's some stairs. And he goes down and he does this little trick on a skateboard, and he stops and he's staring in one direction. And then he makes his camera sync up with whatever he's looking at. whatever he saw or heard, he dropped his phone and ran. He just left his phone there and ran away. And so he, in description, said he saw what it looked like a shadow walking at, or just a shadow walking at him. And I searched, so I looked at the video so closely, but whatever it is that he saw, we couldn't see. But it was enough for him to drop his phone and run. So, and those are not people, you know, people are their phones. It's part of their body. There's no way they're leaving that behind. But he was in a panic. He was gone.
$1,000 phone. I'm not throwing mine down.
Yeah. So, that was another video caught my attention. There's a few of them out there. So for you in investigating, when you get into the field, you're more, do you stay local or do you travel at all?
Well, we Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, all around here, the Southeast, we'll go. I've been to Waverly Hills.
That makes me want.
Gettysburg.
Where here in Florida? So, all right, I'm in the Tampa Bay area. Where's some of the more prevalent places to look at in the Tampa Bay area?
There is one place.
I heard about Ybor, which I'm not far from, but I'm kind of wanting to find somewhere more local where I can literally, maybe in the next week, go there and check out. Yeah, because I'm reading here something in Ybor City, and then another one.
I'm trying to remember the name. There's a
hotel in Tarpon. I didn't even know. Huh.
Yarber. Well, you said it, Yarber City.
Yeah, Ybor City. Yeah, it's Ybor City. Yeah, okay. that I've heard. I consistently. The problem with Ybor City is it's almost never without, like, it's always got something going on. It's like a 24-hour little location. I mean, it does shut down around 4 a.m. But even, by that time, there's a lot of after things going on. So it's really hard to go out there and, like, maybe set up a way to investigate. I'd have to look further into that. I know that there's a hotel. I'm just not reading about this stuff. And the scary part is I've been at this hotel. It's called the Bellevue Biltmore, but I don't even think I think it's been purchased and redone. Yeah, the Bellevue Biltmore. I'm actually surprised at that.
Yeah. They said, like, the Tampa Theater is supposed to be haunted.
Oh, someone just mentioned it to me the other day.
And then there was another place, the James McCobb Theater.
Yeah, that I haven't heard of that one, but I know where that is. Yeah, the Bellevue. That's really strange. And I've lived by this place for as many years as I lived by it. This is the first I'm hearing about it having a haunted issue. It's really strange.
And the Crown Colony House in Busch Gardens is supposed to be haunted.
Crown Colony, I had to write that one down.
Yeah, it's the Crown Colony House.
Bizarre. Yeah, what's really capturing my attention right now is the Bill Moore's Ghost of I got to check. I got to look into that. That place is still there. I think it's just been I think it was demoed and renewed, but maybe energy. It's based on location rather than fixture. So
yeah.
So what do you have coming up soon? Do you have any cases that you're going to be coming up on?
Hopefully after the first of the year, I'm going to try to put together an event to do at Fort Morgan in Gulf Shores, Alabama. It's the fort we were talking about.
Right.
I want to do a ghost hunt there. The only thing is they charge. It's $500 a night.
Wow.
To rent the fort. Yeah. So it's it's tough.
Wait,
in there.
What's the name of this place again?
Fort Morgan.
Fort Morgan.
Yeah.
And they charge $500 a night
to investigate. Yeah.
Do they have a guarantee if there's for a ghost?
No. Yeah, if you want to do an investigation there, it's $500.
Wow. That's a pretty hit. How often are you coming across that?
Not very often. Most of the places, if they know there's a haunting there, a lot of times they're just like, sure, we'll set up a date and y'all can come run around and chase your ghosts so
I got to call this place. I'm like, listen, man, like for $500, there should be a guaranteed there. Like half your money back if you don't get anything, right?
Yeah, it's pretty tough. Yeah, it used to years ago when I investigated there all the time. They didn't charge, and now they do. So,
wow, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I'm really shocked.
Yep, it is $500 to have it from 6 to midnight.
Damn, 6 p.m. So you'd have to go at a certain time of year because that's not guaranteed to be. I read that investigations are done at night. Late night, preferably to mitigate the ambient sound of city and reduce light. So this way you can get a proper study. 6 p.m. in that part of the world in summer, it's still light out around 8:30 p.m.
Yeah.
That's rough.
And usually, like when we used to go there all the time, it was, most of the activity there would happen, between 1 and 4 to 5 a.m. That's when it got really active. 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, it would get super active. Now it's been on. It was on Expedition X. They did a last season. They were there filming, and I don't understand the $500 myself.
I'll gladly pay it if they're guaranteeing something.
Yeah.
So in my mind, a couple things. One, they're charging $500 because they're feeling pretty certain something's there, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine them charging money for this. I'm looking at images of it now. It's not like they're keeping up the maintenance. You know what I mean? At the very minimum, they're cutting the grass around it. There's no foliage. So I don't see where the money goes. But that's like the lottery. People spend $60 billion a year on lottery. Where does that go? Who knows? I never heard a lottery restoring stuff. So it's strange. I'm going to have to look into that because I feel like, again, they're standing on the idea that they're guaranteeing something's going to happen there. At the same time, it makes me wonder if whoever's charging this money is probably making something happen there. I don't know. It's really hard for me. What about the Queen Mary? I wonder if they charge again on the Queen Mary.
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to look into this now because that's a really known.
Waverly Hills is the same way. They charge for you to go do an investigation there. You have to have a certain amount of people in your group, and there's like a minimum of people that you have to bring.
Right.
And, yeah, it's pricey for an overnight there.
Now, again, when I hear so there's places that are haunted. Where I feel a lot of these, I don't know, a lot of places I heard to have a lot of activity here in Florida, like St. Augustine. I don't know that I've heard anyone charge money yet. Yeah. And that place goes back. It's very historic. Listen, so people know, a lot of people died on the east coast of Florida. Right, a lot of shit happened there. A lot of piracy things went on. A lot of between the indigenous people and the newcomers. A lot of death happened there. A lot.
And
Shipwrecks, war. We've had a lot of staging for war in that area. So if anyone should charge thousands of dollars for views for their haunted areas, I feel like that would be the place,
Yeah.
As far as these other ones, it puts a question mark in my head. Maybe that some of them are doing it to kind of discourage non-professionals from going there to investigate.
It could be.
Right.
I know they had some trouble with some of the people that they were letting in, for free, with vandalism and things like that.
Yeah,
and that may have been what brought this up.
Yeah, I mean the fort. I could maybe because it's historical value. They don't want it vandalized, and again they want to keep non-professional. So I can maybe understand them charging. I could. But it's such a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
You know, like, so if you wanted to go to the fort by yourself to investigate, doesn't matter how many people in your party, it's $500.
Yes.
Interesting. Well, I'm pretty pushy. I'm going to go there now. That has just because of that, I'm going there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like during the day, of course they charge you, I don't know what it is. It's not much to get, to go in.
Right.
They have like a little gate there and, you have to pay to go into the fort, but,
I would imagine
go there during the day and take
right.
a few things and investigate.
For let's say a professional film crew, it wouldn't especially with a network supporting them, they could have that place for essentially 2 weeks, do a really full on report, like exclusively to them. That would, so at a place like that, where it sounds to me like they're somewhat guaranteeing activity, it would be a challenge to have like a network say, look, let's set up there for like a month. They can afford it. Let's set up there for a month. Yeah. Cameras on every single piece of that property, a full-on scale team, like some of the best, most sophisticated equipment we can have. See what we get.
Yeah, and that's what, like Expedition X, when they filmed there, they actually caught an apparition on camera.
Expedition
It's on the
X.
episode.
It's, is that on YouTube?
I don't know if it's on YouTube. It was on Discovery Plus.
I see it. All right, I got it.
It's like, what was it? Soldiers or Ghost Fort or something like that.
Yeah, I see it right here. It's
they had to make it into two. They had to have two parts, so it was like the season finale or whatever.
That's interesting.
And they caught an apparition on camera.
We'll have to reach out to them.
There,
that's got my attention. So, all right. So let's say for your immediate area, let's talk local to you. What are some of the places that are hotspots that are considered hotspots that a lot of, like, let's say video and audio evidence has come from? Because when it comes to golf breeze, I have a steady stream of information that comes from that location. A lot.
Yeah, UFO, but a lot of the Gulf Breeze thing is like UFOs,
right?
And that's we just really don't investigate UFOs.
I'm gonna have to share a video. I think it's a video, right? The apparition of the beach somewhere out there in Pensacola. That one captured it. But then on the same note, that same video, I think they were there investigating lights over the water when they caught that.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, it's the parallels, it's very, very noticeable. Yeah.
Yeah. There's not I've tried to search for videos from, like around here, people, because we have a fort here too, Fort Pickens. And we've been there during the day. They won't allow you to investigate at night, but we've been there during the day with equipment, and we've gotten EVPs in there. So, there's something there.
Yeah, I believe wherever you're going to find military men that's one thing I think. A lot of these spirits or entities that we see here are someone who died instantly, whether it be a gunshot, car accident, something, a suicide, jumping from a cliff, whatever gets them instantly. I imagine there's no preparation for transition, and that's what the energy you're seeing.
Yeah.
And then there's that other factor of the residual energy in the loop of you're seeing an event replaying itself. Because Gettysburg, that was a nasty battle. I don't think people understand. A long time ago, people stood in lines. There was a drummer, you were marched into the war by the sound of drums, and in some cases horns, depending on what they're going to use. And they just stood there and got shot at. A lot of people died, a lot, instantly. So I could see why that would be a hotbed. There's places off the coast of Florida on the west, and there's places on the coast of the Carolinas, because the Carolinas, they had, in fact, there was a movie that spoke about it, right? With Denzel. What was the name of that movie with Denzel? Glory.
Glory, yeah.
Yeah, huge battles on the beach there, major battles, a lot of life loss instantly. So I would think these would be ideal locations to look at. I wonder if people, I would have to find out exactly where some of these battles happen, and I wonder if people set up film there. So I mean, that would be a good place to investigate. It would be tough because your audio equipment would take a hit. You're on the coast, so a lot of the wind is going to be there. You'd have to have really thick windscreens, but then that would also dumb down the sensitivity of the mic for what you need to hear.
Yeah.
Visually, I don't know. We'd have to find that, subject to be found out.
Yeah, and it, all these forts. There's forts all up and down the whole coast that saw battle.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something there.
Yeah,
it's just that you don't see a lot of them on TV because I think a lot of them, there's so many restrictions if it's part of maybe the National Park Service,
yeah,
and things like that. You have to go through so many permits and a lot of red tape to be able to film something there. It's just, I think a lot of the production people and stuff are like, it's just not worth the headache.
It's insane. It really is crazy to think about. I say this because I read about it. If you have a video camera, and you're doing any sort of investigation, and your camera points at something that's privately owned or federally owned, it could take issue if you publish it without permission. Right?
Yeah. Yep. So
it's kind of strange, right? So it brings me back to places that charge money for investigations. I hate to harp on it, but I keep feeling like it's either they know you're going to come into something for a few reasons. One, there's actually ghosts there. Two, there's people on staff that are just, it's $500 a shot. We're going to make it interesting for them. Or three, it's really just to eliminate, people destroying and vandalizing the property. You get professionals that show up there. So those things have my attention. And I want to look further into that now.
Yeah, and that's the way Fort Morgan is. I guess because of vandalism and stuff, that's why they did that, so that, they knew if you're going to pay $500 to investigate there, that you're not just there playing around.
Right. Yeah, that's like Alcatraz, right? I'm not almost certain the only way you get to Alcatraz to investigate is if you're a certified team with a good history. I don't think they would just let me walk over here. You have a podcast. I'm looking into this. Goes, well, we don't care. What's your level of expertise? And I'm like, well, there is none, So I don't know that I would be able to get on there, but perhaps like a team or definitely a film crew. They're never going to say no to that. All right. It's good exposure because I think people still go there it's a tourist attraction still.
Exactly. So, and that's what, and people, it attracts people, like these forts, people know they're haunted, then they're going to want to go, they want to go, even if it's during the day. If it gets that reputation, it's haunted, well, let's go, Yeah,
it's incentive for people to go there and spend money on I get it. At the end of the day, it's all a business. Most of it. It's going to be people like yourself and other investigators are going to have to get out there and really find here's the toughest part of it all. There is all the instruments that I've come to learn about in the paranormal. There's nothing that's new, right? There's nothing more sophisticated. And I know that we have the capability of doing this. MIT by itself explored the idea and MIT, many different universities and scientists explore the idea of looking at molecules and things that are, there's videos where you can look at magnetism of these small things you can't see with the naked eye with great clarity. I'm sure someone out there has come with an idea that would be maybe, break the barrier of what we know is real and versus what we can't perceive or see. Someone's got to have something. I'm waiting for it. So in an ideal world, we have a camera that can detect energy in subparticles, right? Because I saw this video with this guy using a laser, like a laser field. Have you seen this?
Yeah, laser grid.
Yeah, those seem interesting to me because I did see it was highlighting certain dark figures or catching movements that we would otherwise not be able to see with our own eyes. That's got my interest.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I think in the terms of science fiction, because I really want that instrument that just grabs one. You could see it. Like what the hell was that movie? There was a movie a long time ago where you put these glasses on, you could see ghosts and other things you weren't able to see. That's what I picture, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I mean, that's my thing is that they could come up, if somebody could come up with a way to see energy, because of it, to me, if it's producing enough of a, say, electromagnetic field to, say, set off a REM pod or, light up a K2 meter, if it has that much energy,
Right.
it seemed like there would be a way to be able to see it.
I agree. And I think, that's in my imagination, the laser field that plays a part in that. But you can't have a laser field, I don't think, in like the middle of Gettysburg, right? Because there's no walls to kind of lights in an indefinite moving thing. So,
yeah.
Yeah, by now you think they'd have like some sort of glasses that hook up to something that allow you to see these things. I'm going to look into that because that to me, whoever gets that's got a Nobel win, period.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. You make some glasses that can see ghosts and other things we can't perceive with regular, on the naked eye. You got the Nobel. You're down.
Yeah.
They don't even have to believe in ghosts to invent this. Just go for the Nobel. Right?
Yeah.
That's my opinion anyway, right?
Yeah.
Richard, before we close out, tell people where they could find you and your group if they want to reach out to you or just learn more about what you're putting out there.
We're on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook and Instagram. It is Ethereal Voices Paranormal. Okay. So, and we're working on getting a website up and going as well.
All right, and I'll put all that in the description so people can locate you. In the meantime, anyone listening, we're going to say good day, good evening, good night, whatever it is for you, and I'm going to talk to Richard in post.
All right, thank you.